When I started in the late 80s with the Florida Game and Freshwater Fish Commission, which is now FWC, it was around 1988 when I started patrolling the river. And like I said, it was pretty fascinating because you're going down the river and you have this bridge, and so you're like, well, I wonder where that goes. And you get out and you pull the boat up and get out and walk down the road, and there's no road. There were several structures north of the bridge on the river, and which I've learned were part of Bert Pruitt's fish camp. And then the anchorage, and then on the other side of the anchorage, there were a couple structures where the seawall is for the botanical gardens.
I recall when I first moved to this part of Port St. Lucie, I used to walk there, and that would have been the mid-90s. And there were citrus trees, there were other fruit trees. I mean, they were old and not much good anymore, but they were back there.
Well, the citrus trees in that property you're talking about were planted by Mr. Pruitt.
That's what I thought, yeah.
Yeah, I remember reading that he had put in some small citrus groves just to provide fruit for his guests.
Thanks to Bert and a few other people, that whole area is really deep in the heart of very early Port St. Lucie.
Well, that's what makes the Westmoreland property so interesting, you know, for the future, because of some of the failed development there, the city had a wonderful opportunity to go in and take a piece of property and develop it into what's becoming the Botanical Gardens, which is gorgeous.
Right.
Carve out a niche that'll attract people, but still leave a lot of nature for people to enjoy. You know, when you get into the history of St. Lucie County and you talk about the McCarty Ranch, you know, there's a couple of old cracker homes out there from, and I'm not sure of the date, but going way back. We have a rare opportunity to save that piece of history, because I don't know. One thing Port St. Lucie has is a lot of structures, but I don't know that it has many that are over 50 years old. And you're talking hundreds of years. We could preserve that somehow and incorporate it into this preservation of this property. I don't know that we could make a restaurant out of a house built in the 1800s, but at least we could start with that.
Make a good museum.
It'd make a great museum, and then build something up to code for a restaurant that matches it.
Yeah.
I love the concept of having a mixed-use piece of property like that. You know, like we were talking earlier, you can't preserve it in its pristine state because it's not pristine now. There's been failed developments on that part of the river and on parts of the property of the Botanical Gardens. So I think you take advantage of the part that's been developed and you build that into something that'll attract people, and then preserve what hasn't been developed. It's a neat part of the city. It's a jewel right in the middle of the city.